What is up, everyone? It is Sweet Pete MMA here. It's Monday around noon, December 12th, 2022. We're going to get into some things here. What's up, everyone? Hope you can see me well here. We're going to get into some things over this not being able to bet in Ontario and Alberta, Canada. So let's get all into this because no information has been shared. From my vantage point, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on with James Krause. I don't know what's going on with Derek Minner. I don't know why we can't bet in Ontario if they've already sanctioned these guys. So let's start from the beginning. We don't have any real answers, but let's start from the beginning. James Krause, he has now been suspended by the NAC, the Nevada Athletic Commission, for an investigation for allegedly partaking in foul play of a MMA fight involving Derek Minner, and I'm going to butcher this one, but I think it's Shylon Nuerdonbeek. I'm just going to call him Shylon. So what happened was a huge line shifted just hours prior to the fight. So the favorite was Shylon. According to Tapology, he was a minus 210 favorite, and that's just a little bit of a favorite. Versus Derek Minner was a plus 180 favorite. Derek Minner is James Krause's fighter at Glory MMA Gym. Since then, the UFC has banned all fighters fighting under James Krause that would be effectively under the Glory MMA Gym. He's banned all fighters from fighting in the UFC. So Dana White's made that decision. The UFC has banned all fighters from fighting in the UFC who fight under James Krause, meaning anyone from Glory MMA, any UFC fighters, which there are quite a few. That is unfair because they're not giving any details. However, let's dig in this a little deeper. What happened? Well, I'll tell you what happened. The fight occurred. We got fighter A, Derek Minner, fighter B, Shylon. Fight occurs. This is early in the first round. Minner kicks. I'm not going to do it with my hands. Minner kicks Shylon a few times. During one of his kicks, he appears to get injured. He retreats and then throws the same kick. A kick with the same leg, with that injured leg, only to fall down and lose via TKO or KO. So the issue here is, why would the line jump from a minus 210 to a minus 420 just hours before the gates closed, the betting gates closed before the fight? It went from a minus 210 for Shylon and plus 180 for Minner to a minus 420 for Shylon and which is crazy. Yeah, just crazy. Anyhow, what happened was a lot of money came in. That's what changes these betting lines. Money came in, and also weird bets. So prop bets. Fight to end in the first round. These are smaller weight fighters. What are they? They're less than lightweights. I think they're featherweights, bantamweights maybe. And typically these fighters don't lose via first round. The lighter the weight class, the higher the chances of the fight going farther on. So especially with a fight that was initially not a pick'em, but Shylon was a slight favorite over Minner. You wouldn't expect a first round finish. So to get high money bets, prop bets to end the fight to end in the first round, unders, and so this expresses inside information must have come out. Now you got to look at James Krause. He's a coach. He's an MMA fighter. He also has a betting business on the side in which he's publicly stated he makes more money doing that than anything else, which is interesting. He sells his bets privately for as much as a couple $1,000s, I've heard. I just want to read a couple of things, and this is all the information I know. USADA have confirmed that TJ Dillashaw is no longer enrolled in their program. Here's their statement, which includes terms for retired athletes who wish to re-enroll in the program. This is just moving on to more just shady things with MMA judging, with MMA rules, with the commissions. So they may wish to re-enroll in the program, fighters who retire. So they may grant an exemption to the 6-month written notice rule in exceptional circumstances or where the strict application of that rule would be manifestly unfair to the athlete. But in both cases, the athlete must provide at least 2 negative samples before returning to competition. Upon being added to the UFC anti-doping program, athletes are also required to declare prohibited substances they have used in the previous 12 months prior to being in USADA's testing program. An athlete who makes such a declaration, depending on the substance, will be required to refrain from competition for a period of at least 6 months and provide at least 2 negative samples to ensure they do not compete in the UFC with a performance advantage. So essentially, McGregor allegedly, I don't think you have to say allegedly after the Liver King, got exposed. It's pretty clear Conor is going to be exposed. You don't go from a thin 145 or a lean guy to a beast at that age in your 30s with those deltoids in the shoulders and those front abs. That's PED use. It's simple. Especially Conor made comments alluring to using steroids for healing recovery processes. It's good that the UFC, the athletic commissions are cutting down, but again, this is not all unified. We've got the Nevada Athletic Commission. We've got, New York State. You've got every state and little area determining the rules and regulations based on where the fight is. It needs to all be a unified, United States unified, or North America unified. It needs to be the same everywhere you go. The UFC should be the ones, doctoring it with, or enforcing it, but they should have an outside source, just one. Maybe have NAC, the Nevada Athletic Commission, be their athletic commission everywhere around the world, no matter what. That would be my advice. But so James Krause, he's been suspended by the Nevada Licensing Commission, and all fighters under his gym, they can't fight in the UFC. This is what it seems like occurred. It really seems like James Krause knew that Derek Minner got injured. Maybe he got injured in training 2 days before the fight. Maybe he had a hairline fracture in his shin bone, and he knew very well that he could not kick with that leg. However, if you've ever been in a fight or you ever trained MMA, it's hard not to use your weapons, especially, one of your 2 legs. You've got the Muay Thai, the art of 8 limbs, but, it's hard not to kick, even if you've got an injury on that leg. It really seems like James Krause was aware of this injury, told his, special, if he does it on Discord or whatever he does, the people to bet against his fighter, Derek Minner, to lose by TKO or KO because he was aware of this injury. That's what it looks like. I don't know if that's the case. The problem here is we're not being given any information. And more of a problem is we're still not allowed to bet on the UFC in Ontario or Alberta, which is baloney. I would have won $500. I would have won a decent amount of money last weekend with my picks, and I converted them to what I was betting on. I would have won 4 for 6. I would have won a few $100. It would have been a good weekend for me. And this is 2 weekends in a row now. We've heard nothing. The Nevada sanctioning, or what is it? The Nevada Licensing Commission, or Athletic Commission, NAC. If they're doing their job and they've put sanctions on Minner, they put sanctions on James Krause. No one under Glory MMA can fight. So none of James Krause's fighters that he coaches can fight in the UFC. we shouldn't have a problem. We should be back in action. Ontario, DraftKings in particular, what's going on? Well, crickets. Crickets. And let's get back into this fixing of fights and judging problem. It is an MMA epidemic. Every weekend, I was asking my wife, what is the problem? What do you notice every fight card? Every fight card, there is a fight that the judges get it wrong. There's a lot of variables that come into judging. Angles, sound, the noise from the crowd. Maybe you have a bias. Boxing judges, for instance, might prefer the striking. There's been a huge transition lately, and I do not like it, that essentially, if you're a grappler in MMA, you just lose unless you completely dominate. This is unfair because the grapplers are putting these strikers in positions that they do not want to be in. When you're on the bottom, on your back, I don't care if you're punching like this 100 times, that doesn't do anything. That does zero damage. So, that even if that bottom fighter is more active, he is in a position he doesn't want to be in. The person on top is in a position they want to be in. They're controlling. They're doing what they want. In my opinion, that's winning. When you're doing what you want, when you're winning the battle, you're winning the fight. I do understand there's times at the bottom where guys are laying those hard elbows and the guys on top are baring their head and doing nothing. Yeah, those cases, sure, the bottom fighter, I would give them the edge. But let's halt a little bit on these grapplers and give them a little more respect here, because grappling is a fantastic part of mixed martial arts, and that's what makes mixed martial arts interesting, is the grappling and the striking and everything in between, the wrestling, the transitions, the scrambles. It's fantastic, especially at the lighter weight classes, in my opinion. You see these guys fighting like ferrets, as Josh Thompson likes to say. That's the most exciting fights. But the UFC's got to figure something out. As the world's fastest growing sport, it's going to be an issue because, we just had TJ Dillashaw fight for the bantamweight title against Aljamain Sterling, and Dillashaw had an injury with his shoulder. I think Dillashaw's 36, and it was going to put him out for another 2 years, and he has already himself had an issue with PEDs. He used a PED called EPO as he tried to cut down to 125 to fight Henry Cejudo. Ended up biting him in the butt. He lost via KO/TKO first round. The stoppage was a little questionable in my opinion, definitely, but whatever. He cheated, and he couldn't have got down there naturally, so he doesn't matter. He should have never been there, and he did deserve that suspension. He took the 2 years, came back, but then he had shoulder problems. I don't get it. I thought he had surgery to fix those problems over those 2 years, yet for some reason. The problem is the shoulder, as Luke Thomas mentions, is the most mobile joint in the body. Unlike an elbow that just goes kind of one way, you can't go left or right with your elbow. It's a locked joint. The shoulder is, on like a pendulum. It goes every way. So once you start having problems with those ligaments in there and those muscles and that rotator cuff and all that sort of stuff, it can be for life, it appears. The shoulders are dangerous to injure. And knees. So I'm really trying to get down to the bottom of this. Regardless, if Derek Minner threw the fight intentionally, if James Krause knew Minner was hurt, he was already an underdog, and said, hey, let's make some money. That's a cowardly move on Krause. I don't see James Krause doing that. The funny thing is, from every vantage point, every viewpoint, James Krause seems like the nice guy, the good coach, the guy that will, take his shirt right off his back for you. He seems like that guy, but are we being misled? Is that a character? Who knows these days? Whatever happened to fighting your way up the rankings and just having a sport with integrity and a sport where the best fight the best and we see competitive fun, exciting fights. I like a little bit of the drama, but you just need a bit. We don't need full-out characters. This is getting overboard. It's sad because these MMA fighters who are phenomenal athletes. This sport is exciting. It's fun. It's good for children, and it reduces the chances of being bullied. It reduces the chances of your child becoming a bully if they're involved in mixed martial arts. And it gives your child the ability to defend themselves if they ever are unfortunately put in a position where they have to and are bullied against a much bigger opponent. Jiu-jitsu in particular. So MMA is a sport that's not going anywhere. It's huge here in Canada. We had GSP. We had the biggest stadium sellout up until that Australia one, which allegedly had all of a sudden like 1,000 more people than the Toronto one. So suddenly when they were announcing it, I think still the one in Toronto was the biggest. My opinion, I was there, top row of the rafters. I call it the Sky Dome. I'm always going to call it the Sky Dome. Everyone was doing their boots like this, and the entire building felt like it was going to shake down. I thought it was going to crumble. It was that loud. When GSP first fought, I fought Jake Shields there, and Mark Hominick finishes the 5th round, full mount on top of Jose Aldo, landing punches. If that fight was one more round, Mark Hominick would have been the featherweight champion of the world. Just want to give Mark Hominick a shout out. He's coached me in the past. He is a phenomenal athlete, and he did a lot for Canada MMA. Anyhow, guys, I think I've talked about everything I need to talk about. The bets, simply a fighter that was minus 200 went to minus 400 or more in the hours before a fight because of some insider information. There's always going to be insider information in all sports. But what happened, we don't know. So please tell us. Tell us what happened. Give us the information. What did James Krause do? What did Derek Minner do? What are their punishments? Let's move on. Let's re-legalize. Let's put UFC betting back on in Ontario and Alberta. Come on, how much money are you guys losing? I'm losing money, but how much money is DraftKings losing? Sportsbook, mybookie.ag. How much are you guys losing? You guys should be writing out to whoever makes these decisions. It must be the Canadian government, has athletic commission in Canada or something. I don't know. Anyhow, let's get betting back. It's really unfortunate what happened. Before I go, so what I was getting at is there's a problem with this UFC judging, and this is a problem. We need more judges. We need training courses, certifications. We need to get this taken care of, and we need them to be able to be paid a salary where they earn enough to support a family so that we can have this as an actual job, and we don't have fights being really fixed. For instance, watching the UFC Saturday night, Paddy the Baddy lost to Jared Gordon. How much would that have changed Jared Gordon's life if Jared Gordon got the decision that he won, that he deserved, that he absolutely 100% should have got? I thought the same. I thought he won rounds 1 and 3. He was fighting him. He's a orthodox fighter, and this was exactly what he was doing. He kept his hands up. It was all boxing, and he would change levels. He'd go down and go with that lead body hook, followed by that rear face hook, and he continually hit Paddy with that 2-punch combination over and over again. He couldn't miss. It was like a magnet, as John McCarthy said. Everyone thinks Paddy lost that fight. I've listened to all the outlets. I'm not the only one. It's something as bettors we have to look out for now. You have to look at a fight, look at the names, and say, okay, I know this fight might be close, but if it is close, they're going to give it to this guy. And that's what's happening here. They gave it to Paddy because they needed him to win that. I don't know what's going on there. That, to me, seems worse way worse than what happened in the Derek Minner fight. You know, we got Paddy the Baddy, the co-main event on a pay-per-view, being gifted a decision that he didn't deserve. He clearly lost the first round. He got outstruck. The damage was all for Gordon. Second round, he was a little bit more active. Arguably, people could have said he lost the second round too. But Paddy was a little more active, a little more aggressive. But the thing is, Gordon was blocking a lot of those shots. He was rolling and blocking. But I would say Paddy might have edged that round. Round 3, Gordon goes for the wrestling. He gets a takedown at the end. It's back and forth. But in those positions, you know, even if Paddy had a few more of these, Gordon had the control, the dominance. He also had his own knees, his own foot stops. He got the takedown. You know, those are close rounds, but you give it to the aggressor. You give it to the guy that's on top, unless there was significant damage done by the guy on bottom or the guy being held against the fence. There wasn't. Clear round. 29, clear fight to score, clear round. 29-28, Jared Gordon. Yet, that fight gets announced, and Paddy the Baddy wins. And for me, it was good. Well, actually didn't matter because my bet didn't go through, couldn't do it. But I presumed Paddy was going to win that fight. I didn't think Jared was going to be able to deal with just the size, aggression, and power of Paddy. But he did. There you go. All right. Lastly, before I go, I want to read one more thing. And let's expose this guy because enough's enough, man. Enough is enough. So thanks to Nate Marks 4999 and Josh Thompson and Big John McCarthy from weighing in. They were discussing about this. It's Douglas Crosby. He's the judge who gave Sabatello 50-45 victory on the scorecard. That was Sabatello versus I forget the other fighter's name at the moment in Bellator. It was a featherweight bout, and it was a 5-round main event, and Sabatello is a fighter with a big mouth. He's putting on a shtick. Maybe it's not a shtick, maybe it's actually him, but he's kind of like the Colby Covington of Bellator. And he had a very close fight with Rafion Stotts. And Rafion Stotts won the fight 3 rounds to 2. I didn't watch it, but that's the general consensus, 48-47, Rafael Stotts. And then you have this guy, this clown, Douglas Crosby, giving it 50-45 to Sabatello. Unbelievable. How could you give it 50-45 to Sabatello when the other 2 judges scored it 48-47 for Rafion Stotts? He's the same judge who gave Paddy rounds 1 and rounds 2. So, Douglas Crosby, how do you give Paddy Pimblett round 1 against Jared Gordon? Look at that round. Who did the damage? Who landed the harder punches? It was Jared Gordon all day. If you know anything about mixed martial arts, if you've seen a few fights even, you would clearly see and express it. Jared Gordon won round 1. Shame on you, Douglas Crosby. Are you getting paid under the table? I don't know. Maybe there's more going on too. But this Douglas Crosby seems to be one of those guys who is messing fight after fight up. So I don't know what's got to happen, but let's get this betting back. I don't think it's such a big deal. I think the athletic commissions with the sanctioning and all the stuff they've done is enough to allow us to start betting again. And as they finish up their investigations, give us information, please do. And that's how we'll learn. That's how we'll get better. Well, they'll learn. They'll get better. And they'll prevent these things from happening. Anyhow, that's a Sweet Pete MMA update. It's my, just my issues with MMA judging and MMA betting, which we can't do. It's unreal. Thanks for listening, guys. I'm going to try to be doing more videos. I'll make them shorter. I'll get to the point. Still learning, but I love doing this. Have a good one. Take care.